Welcome back to the Royce White Show here on Real America's Voice. David Penn, your guest host, privileged and honored to be with you again on this last day of May the 31st in this momentous year 2025. I hope you're doing well. A beautiful, beautiful summer day, a day where I have great Thanksgiving. We dodged a bullet around my home campfire. Went to the hospital, someone in my family. Didn't look good. Came out, a miracle. A miracle to me, because I've been down these roads before, and a lot of times when you go to the hospital for that diagnostic technique, the word is not good. But I had a great miracle. We're all good, and I'm so pleased and happy to be with you here, coming to you from the studios of Free People Radio, as Royce says, from the belly of the beast here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. What a week. What a week. I want to talk in this first segment about this Court of International Trade, tariffs, and what's going on with these efforts President Trump is making to rebalance the international trading system. Please, let's listen to this first clip of the press secretary addressing the press crew.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Wow, a packed room today.
Yes, ma'am.
Last night, the Trump administration faced another example of judicial overreach. Using his full and proper legal authority, President Trump imposed universal tariffs and reciprocal tariffs on Liberation Day to address the extraordinary threat to our national security and economy posed by large and persistent annual U.S. goods trade deficits. The United States has run a trade deficit of goods every year since 1975. In 2024, our trade deficit in goods exceeded $1 trillion. Everybody agrees this is unacceptable. President Trump is delivering on his promise to fix this problem, and he has taken a long overdue and much needed bold stance for American workers after decades of our manufacturing base being hollowed out. The president's rationale for imposing these powerful tariffs was legally sound and grounded in common sense. President Trump correctly believes that America cannot function safely long-term if we are unable to scale advanced domestic manufacturing capacity, have our own secure critical supply chains, and our defense industrial base is dependent on foreign adversaries. Three judges of the U.S. Court of International Trade disagreed and brazenly abused their judicial power to usurp the authority of President Trump to stop him from carrying out the mandate that the American people gave him. These judges failed to acknowledge that the President of the United States has core foreign affairs powers and authority given to him by Congress to protect the United States economy and national security. Congress had created the National Emergency Act to provide the congressional framework to strike down improper IEEPA use. And any questions over whether President Trump improperly imposed these IEEPA tariffs were already adjudicated in Congress following Liberation Day. Congress firmly rejected an effort led by Senator Rand Paul and Democrats to terminate the president's reciprocal tariffs. The courts should have no role here. There is a troubling and dangerous trend of unelected judges inserting themselves into the presidential decision-making process. America cannot function if President Trump, or any other president for that matter, has their sensitive diplomatic or trade negotiations railroaded by activist judges. President Trump is in the process of rebalancing America's trading agreements with the entire world, bringing tens of billions of dollars in tariff revenues to our country, and finally ending the United States of America from being ripped off. These judges are threatening to undermine the credibility of the United States on the world stage. The administration has already filed an emergency motion for a stay pending appeal and an immediate administrative stay to strike down this egregious decision. But ultimately, the Supreme Court must put an end to this for the sake of our Constitution and our country.
You know, I have a unique insight into this Court of International Trade. For those of you who follow me and listen to my Professor Penn podcast or listen to Royce's Please Call Me Crazy or our joint effort Hebrews, you know that we support Free People Radio by being involved in the tire business. We have an e-commerce benefit for our viewers and listeners. And as a participant in the tire business, well, guess what? I have to import tires because only 25% of the tires that you use are actually manufactured here in our country. That is why President Trump is out to change this system. And as an importer, I've had numerous cases in front of this Court of International Trade. And I'll tell you, it's a kangaroo court. You go in the front door and you leave with your pockets empty. They're pocket pickers. It is part of the Department of Commerce. And, you know, they make a big deal. Well, one judge was chosen by President Reagan in 1983. That's a fossil. And another one was from Barack Obama. And the third one was chosen by, guess who? President Donald Trump. And the pundits use this to claim that President Trump's use of the trade authority that the Congress gave to him was, well, incorrect. But I see it a different way. What I see is the reveal, the great unmask of how neoliberalism, a judge that was picked under Barack Obama, and neoconservatism, judges that were picked under President Trump and President Reagan, how neoliberalism and conservatism have one great thing in common. Globalism. Yes, look at this great reveal. The neoliberals and the neoconservatives agree about free trade. They agree about it. And President Trump is trying to change this system. And he's run into some unelected jurists sitting in black robes in a Corinthian columned courthouse in Manhattan. And they have tried to circumvent his effort to do what? Save our country from bankruptcy. Now, these jurists, well, maybe they interpreted the law the way they see it. Or maybe they know that their reason to be will no longer be if these reciprocal tariffs are imposed. And let me share with you why. These judges, this Court of International Trade, 90+% of its activities is adjudicating disputes between poor American citizens who import and then get pocket picked by the Department of Commerce through a kind of a legal framework called anti-dumping, as political as you can get. Yes, that's what they do. And these anti-dumping rates are set by Commerce, and they're reviewed, and there's arguing, and you go to court, and you know what they say? Hey, pay me. Pay me. I've had a bunch of cases there, and I lost all of them except for one. Well, let me tell you, one time I lost, they said I was right, but still pay me. Think about that one. That'll bend your noodle. And if President Trump gets these reciprocal tariffs in place, if he gets these sector tariffs in place, this entire architecture in the Department of Commerce, where they're continuously haggling over anti-dumping rates, unnecessary. You could cut the Department of Commerce's budget by 2/3, I am sure. This whole court would go away. I'm not saying that's why it was 3-0 at the court, but those folks know that if there's reciprocal tariffs, they could be out of a job. And why is President Trump doing it? I mean, what's really going on? He's really trying to save our budget, our economy, our currency. Now, I believe in the constitutional process. I believe we have 3 separate but equal branches of government. And I believe that we have a bunch of leftist law schools that are turning out jurists. First, they're lawyers. Then, if they can't make it in private practice, they matriculate to being judges. Those that cannot practice the business of law go into being judges. So we've got these people educated in our elite institutions like Harvard. They're raised on the milk of globalism and world communism. And is it any surprise that whether they come from a conservative president or a liberal president, they all agree about one world government and one world economy? So if we're going to change this, if you and I are going to do something, we're going to have to get involved in politics. Think about the last time you went to vote. There was judges on the ballot. Mostly they were unopposed. You had no idea who they were. You just filled in the circle because you didn't know what else to do. That's because we are not playing in the game. And when we don't play, we leave the space for the elite, educated to come in and rule over us. What are these people doing? Maybe they're just calling balls and strikes. But the effect was to embarrass President Trump, to undermine his efforts to balance the budget. But hey, these people have underestimated the crew in the White House. They knew this was coming. They got plan B, plan C, plan D. I'm going to give you a secret if you're a pundit listening to me, because I play this game. There is no way that President Trump's efforts to use tariffs as a tool will be defeated. At the end of the day, President Trump will succeed. Thank you for being with me this morning. That's the end of segment one. We'll be right back after these important messages.